Hello, hello. How is everyone doing today? If anyone's in the stream, if you could please give me a thumbs up emoji or something in the thread just to let me know you can hear me all fine. That'd be great. Second time only ever using StreamYard, so just want to make sure everything's running. The audio is good for you guys. If I need to turn the volume up or down, anything like that, just let me know. All right, so today's live stream is essentially just going to be a quick hangout, just catch up with you guys, chat with you about some stuff, and answer any questions you guys might have in regards to the channel. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them as quickly as possible. All right, some people pop in the chat. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Nice to see ya. Well, hey, guys, how's it going? Everyone can hear me fine, hopefully. I got something I might let you guys know a little later, near the end of the stream too, in regards to going to see Ariel Posen tomorrow night. It'll be really interesting. I'll update you guys with some crazy stuff that's going on tomorrow. That'd be awesome. Hey, Jake, how can I use the aux to record my acoustic guitar? Yeah, that's a good question. There's this guy named Little London Guitarist. He can probably help you out, or a mod. He'll be able to help you out fine. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked going to see Ariel Posen tomorrow night. And like I said, I'll be updating you guys with some things on the channel tomorrow in regards to that. I won't let you guys know exactly what's going on, but it's going to be really cool. It's going to be a great night too. Get to see Ariel perform for the second time ever, which will be really wicked. Yeah. Jake, aren't you supposed to be teching right now? I thought you were at a gig teching for those guys. Yeah, you do know Jake. So I was telling you about it. But yeah, you guys get updated on pretty cool stuff. So yeah, if any of you guys have any questions or anything just about gear, stuff like that, anything you want to know, it's just a perfect time to ask me away. Yeah, a few people asking me about this Brown Marshall. I briefly talked about it on the 5 Watt World live stream when I was on there with Keith. But this is a Marshall JMP. It's a 2203 from 1977. Got the exact date from when we actually opened the schematic up and I had it serviced by my tech. But yeah, it's really cool. It's in fawn, and fawn is essentially a really rare custom color from Marshall. Kind of around that timeline, they only produced a handful of them in that specific Tolex. The only guys that I really know who use fawn Marshalls, I believe Andy Timmons has a fawn Marshall. You can sometimes see that in the background of his videos. Robin Trower as well actually had some fawn Marshalls. I believe the same ones, or at least the same cabs that I have. And then Joe Bonamassa actually bought Robin Trower's Marshall, or a couple of his fawn Marshalls. So when he toured with Black Country Communion, I believe in Europe it was, if you go back to some old footage, you actually see him using a few different fawn Marshall cabinets, the exact same ones that I got. They're just loaded with greenbacks that they came with. Sound really great. Shane asks, how often do I use the aux? Honestly, I use it anytime I play my Marshall in the basement. Here, it's just really low ceilings. Actually, you guys can't really see the full kind of setup in the basement, but really low ceilings and kind of a tight space. So it's nice to be able to attenuate it volume wise and still be able to get that great sound that I like out of it. Because it's 100 watts, old school Marshall. I got a power variac attenuator thing running with it too, so I can get it kind of running completely as properly as possible. But otherwise, I use the aux whenever I make the odd video where I'll actually, like, you know, showcase pedals or tones on the channel. That's kind of primarily actually what I bought it for. It's just a really great way to capture that kind of stuff. Maybe a little bit of overkill, but the attenuation was a factor that I wanted to have as well with everything like that. Tyler asks if John Mayer is still using Univibe and if there's anything better than the MXR Univibe. I mean, the MXR Univibe's fine. I've never exactly played one of those, but I've played a few of their other like kind of Hendrix pedals that they have, like their Hendrix fuzz face and stuff like that. All great stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, like if you went and bought like a, I think Sabadeus makes the funky vibe or something like that. Crazy, you know, replicas of the original Univibe. If you wanted to go and spend the money to get one of those and the extra amount that it would take to spend, you know, I don't think you're really getting your full necessarily money's worth compared to buying like an MXR Univibe. But if you want to go down that route, there's a lot of kind of cool Univibe pedals. But I mean, the MXR one will do the job more than fine. But no, he's not using Univibe. Hasn't used that effect for a little while now, actually. But he's even kind of just experimented with using chorus as rotary. And that kind of seems to be his main flavor of choice, at least from 2019 in Sob Rock, at least. Another one here from Christian. What amp of yours is my favorite? I mean, if I only had to have one, it'd be the T-Rock. But it's just, I love that amp. Every time I plug it in, it's just absolutely incredible. It was funny when I met Ariel for the first time, actually, in 2019, when he came to Canada for a tour. We were talking about T-Rocks because that was the first time I'd heard a T-Rock traditional clean live in a room or anything like that. Because I bought mine, ordered mine kind of sight unseen, more or less, as you tend to do with amps like these. And he said after all the ones he tried out, and after all the different T-Rocks, he tested all the prototypes of the Bloomfield, the custom reverb, or yeah, which one? Oh God, I'm blanking. The new CRS one, reverb signature, and then a few of the other ones. And he said Tradclean was his favorite, and I absolutely love that amp too. It sounds fantastic, and it's, if you had to buy one amp to do the Mayer thing, I think it's kind of the one. Maybe, you know, if you guys would argue if you'd use maybe a Sterling signature, because that's kind of more instant where the light is from. A few of my buddies who own them, they said that's kind of absurd. Jake, if you're still in the chat, you could probably chime in on Silver Sterling being probably the one amp to have. But yeah, I mean, for me, the T-Rock's probably the one because it's the sound that I want. It's just the sound that I look for and hear in my head. And Mauricio, how would John combine the JMP 2203 with the major? Is it replacing gradually his traditional Silver Jubilee and major rig? This is really interesting. I wanted to do a video on this very subject, actually, because when you watch the Silver Lake Conservatory show, John, again, kind of didn't use the Jubilee. He just stuck with the 2203, which is that amp that I have, and then the major. And that's kind of, I take it, his main core sound now. And I've heard from some people who were backstage and kind of have some, you know, they know a little bit of stuff that's going on. Apparently, John was even experimenting with running two majors on at the same time, just using one from his backup rack and then the one on stage. And that's majority of the sound people were hearing during certain performances. Now, that's not confirmed or anything like that, but that's just at least what I'd kind of heard. So as far as I know, he's really just experimenting with this sound. But I mean, that JMP really, I think, has kind of come in as his new main amplifier. But for the most part, I think the major is the core part of his sound. Either the Jubilee or the JMP are what are kind of combining with the major to create his tone. But the major, I think, is the main key variable there. Am I familiar with Philip Ace? Oh, yeah. He's incredible. It's just, he's kind of like the SRV guy, honestly. Like, John is really good at doing the SRV thing, but I mean, come on. Like, he just sounds so much like him. Every time you hear him, it's amazing. The reliquware that guy puts on his guitars, too, is absolutely insane. Just how quickly you watch his posts. He'll post, like, getting a brand new Strat or whatever, an old, you know, vintage Strat. And like a year later, there's no finish on the thing at all. He just plays super aggressively and super hard. And I think that's just really cool. Yeah, he's wicked. He's Canadian too, actually. So another good Canadian guy. You know, you got Ariel, you got the Landreth brothers, then you got Philip as well. A bunch of us Canadians, you know. Some of us are pretty talented, at least. Have I ever tried any of Will Galucio's custom pedals? If you're just referring to Triangle Lab in general, yeah, I've played a few of them, actually. Really great stuff. I really like what Will does and everything like that, and just his involvement in the John Frusciante community as a whole. Triangle Lab, I think, is one of the best brands for sure to go with if you're kind of wanting to get some John Frusciante style pedals. I really like their Fuzzrite clone, especially when I tried that one out. Even the CE1 preamp that he used, that's actually the first kind of John Frusciante specific pedal from a builder that I ever bought, was Will's CE1 preamp. That thing sounded great. I used that originally way back in the day with the Wazacraft CE2 in the CE1 mode, and it was great. I just left that pedal on all the time in front of my old Marshall Silver Jubilee, the little 20-watt one. I used to have one of those in front of that, and just, it was great. It's a great sound. And yeah, Will makes great stuff. Well worth the wait too, because I know a lot of his stuff is on a wait list, but yeah, well worth the wait. A really great guy too, so I definitely love his stuff. One from Mike here. Why do you think John Mayer prefers Rosewood guitars? I just think tonally, honestly. You know, there is a difference between the tone of a Rosewood board guitar and then a maple guitar, and the Rosewood's definitely more of his thing. And then too, like some people say for playability wise as well, like they just feel a little bit different, you know, under your fingers. I don't really have much experience with maple guitars, to be honest. I just really prefer the way Rosewood looks, if I'm honest. And like my one Les Paul behind me is ebony, and the darker the board, I just think it's a better look personally. I have my Fender reverse headstock Strat, and I bought it in January of last year, and I've maybe played it twice. Not because I don't like maple necessarily, but it's just, I don't know. I just have a hard time with non-Rosewood guitars. At least it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just all in my head too. You hear that Rosewood's kind of more that specific sound, you know, less kind of spanky and bright or whatever. And maybe it just kind of, you know, it's in my head maybe. But I think that's kind of why John prefers at least maybe a bit of tonally and comfortably, like a comfortability thing as well. From James, did you work out? I guess I just feel like live tone with my 2019 board. No, I never figured out exactly how he's doing it. There's one theory me and a few other people have as to how he got that tone. And at some point, I'd like to discuss it on the channel, but it's just a theory right now. So I'm not going to just throw gasoline on the fire or anything like that. There's a piece of gear that I'm looking for to try and get. And to maybe experiment a few different tones in general that John's been getting. A few other pieces of gear I want to get in to kind of mess around with. But I think essentially if you have something, you know, I know a lot of people say it sounds like a fuzz. If you have something that's fuzz-esque or just a nice distortion pedal, overdrive pedal, you know, stacking kind of in the Mayer thing, because we know he would stack like the Klon and the Tube Screamer on for that solo, or the Function Effects third rail during the Sob Rock tour. If you have some of those, tone knob down, play with your fingers, you know, you can get pretty close to it. So I just think, you know, that's one of kind of the hardest tones to nail from John. And it's kind of one of the biggest tonal mysteries, at least. But if I ever kind of work it out, I'll for sure obviously let you guys all know what it is. But until then, I'm kind of just going to let a few different theories of mine kind of stay theories, as to not, again, throw gasoline on the fire of that tone, because it's a highly contested one, but it's incredible for sure. I think my next big purchase is going to be, I've actually been selling a lot of stuff recently. I bought a lot in the past while, and I don't know, I don't really need anything per se right now. Reissue Viroverb is probably the next thing I want to get, honestly. And it's half in part because I love the trio, and that Fender amp is just a huge part of the John Mayer trio sound, and that's one of the next videos I actually have coming out. Jake Loosemore is actually going to be providing some sound clips of his reissue Vibroverb for me in that video, which will probably come out in the next like 2 weeks or something like that, kind of a history and discussing why it's actually such an important amp in John Mayer's overall kind of sound and history. But also for me too, it's just like I really want to get back out to playing with people more and just falling back in love with playing the guitar, because I found that once I kind of started the channel a little bit, my whole kind of everything surrounding the guitar for me at least kind of all of a sudden became this channel. And it was like, okay, like if I'm playing the guitar, it's usually I want to work on stuff or figuring out tones and with pedals and stuff like that, just to build my own knowledge up. And I stopped kind of just picking up the guitar and jamming along to songs or just jamming with people in general. And obviously none of the amps I have are portable. I'm not going to haul the Two-Rock or my Bandmaster or the Marshall, for God's sake. That's just not happening. If I wanted to go and play with people, and a good buddy of mine's actually picked up the drums kind of recently and is starting to want to jam with people as well. So I'd like to get out and start jamming with people. And a Vibroverb reissue is portable. It'd be perfect. Lots of headroom. So I think once I sell some more gear and kind of just chill for a bit, when a good, condition one comes up in Canada that I can get, I'll probably try and pick one up. There's one outside of Toronto for sale right now, but the guy's, number one, not offering shipping, and number two, that's far. There's one in Vancouver that I was kind of like looking at, and I was in Vancouver recently, actually, and I probably should have checked it out, to be honest, because it's sold and then it's going to be an absolute pain to get it again. But yeah, it's probably my next big purchase anyway. All right, Drew wants to know Mayor's acoustic setup when performing live. So John goes direct in with acoustics. Essentially, he'll have a Boss TU2 or TU3 on his pedal board that's just strictly an acoustic tuner. And for whatever reason, Polytunes seem to be his electric guitar tuner of choice, and then Boss tuners are his acoustic one. Just an interesting thing that we've kind of noticed over the years. But essentially, he'll go into an Avalon U5, I believe it's called, and then just direct out from there. That's really it, honestly. The tone and everything you're hearing is just from those big, beautiful Martins or whatever acoustics he's playing. But yeah, I'm not an acoustic guy, to be honest, so I don't really pay attention that much, but it's just direct out. Hey, Josh asks, what do you think of the Future Factory versus the Flight Time? Do you think it worked from Meritones? Oh, never tried either of those pedals. One of the next pedals I want to buy actually is the Tri-Avatar. I've always been really curious about that chorus, and I love chorus as an effect in general, especially actually Chris Buck's usage of it on Where Do You Go off of their EP, and then January Came Close. He uses the Helix, I think is just the built-in chorus from the Helix. But that's just a chorus. I think we kind of nail those 80s things and that rack unit sound. So as far as the Flight Time goes, I know a few people who own them and they just speak super highly of them. I think anything Free the Tone makes is just going to be a premium product that sounds absolutely fantastic. They also were part of Providence. Providence and Free the Tone were both the same company at one point. I used to have the very original version of the Delay 80s called the Delay 80, and it was actually branded Providence Free the Tone or something like that, but it had both the names on the company, and essentially the two split, went their separate ways. So the pedigree between both of those companies is huge. A lot of pedals have been designed kind of by the same people and people who collaborated with them together. It's really cool. So I think long story long, yes, I think either of them will nail it, honestly. There's really good digital delays that you can program. I mean, it probably would honestly sound a bit better than the Chrono delay. It's not, in my opinion, the best sounding digital delay out there. It's just very accurate, really easy to program, and the Flight Time would be the same thing, and same thing with the Future Factory. If you want to get the Frusciante tone, what 5 pedals collectively would you get? You need a CE1. Essentially, this is assuming you have like a Marshall style amp, number one. Obviously, if you have a Marshall style amp, you're going to want a CE1 because that preamp is going to help push things a little bit more. And even though your amp's set pretty much clean, that preamp just kind of gives everything at the very end of your chain just a bit of push. You're going to want a WH10 as well, or just a wah pedal that can kind of do that WH10 style sound. I'd obviously recommend just going with a WH10 version 3 and then, getting it Wilson modded eventually, or just buying a Wilson modded one. That's kind of what I'd recommend just based on my experience. I'd say get like a fuzz, either a Big Muff, a Fuzz Right, or a Variac fuzz. You just want a fuzz. You don't need a whack of them, but just a fuzz pedal would kind of, nail obviously all those fuzz tones to stack with the Boss DS2, and then maybe a micro amp or an SD1 as well, just to throw in some different layering and different stacking as well. Honestly, between chorus, wah, and those 3 pedals, that's the bread and butter of John Frusciante's sound. All right. Oh, Mike, have I tried any of the PRS pedals? I think JM had input on them? Yeah, I would bet my entire collection that John had at least some input on those pedals. From what I understand, I think a lot of people kind of were helping in the development of testing those pedals and stuff like that. Like, I'm pretty confident John had some involvement in those pedals and their development, especially the Klon, at least, and kind of developing maybe an ideal circuit of the Klon. But then I kind of figured, oh, maybe we'll see him using it. And since the release, he's performed like 1 or 2 shows, guest appearance shows, I think. And I don't think he's used it yet, but, or at least, yeah, I haven't seen him use it yet, if I'm getting my dates correct. But maybe in the new year, we'll see him use it. Who knows? Because he only owns 1 Klon, right? So maybe this is kind of going to be his next kind of overdrive pedal, or maybe he'll experiment with it as just a different flavor, because it's Klon-esque from what I know, but I haven't played any of these pedals yet. I think they're probably going to be really great. Knowing anything PRS makes, they're going to be fantastic. So I think they'll be great, and I want to try them soon. Maybe when they get in stock in my local Long McQuaid, which is kind of like Canada's Guitar Center, they get them in stock, then I'll probably try them out. And they got like a 30-day money-back guarantee. So I bought gear, tried it out. If I don't like it, just go and return it. So I'll probably do that with a few of them. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that. Yeah, there was some discussion in the Gear Lounge today on just kind of, was it trade dress is actually the technical term of it, trade dress violations with pedals and stuff like that. Yeah, you obviously saw that in there. No, thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. Is any predictions for changes to Frusciante's setup when they start touring Return to the Dream Canteen? I feel like I can't predict anything John is going to do at this point. The fact that he started using a 2203 instead of just his regular main kind of amp rig, and now we have 3 amps, so we have no idea how he's using them in conjunction, more or less. Like, are all 3 of them on? Is he running just 2 at a time? Like, we don't 100% know what he's doing. So that's one thing that we should have been able to predict just out the window. And same thing with the pedal board. I thought we'd see a bunch of boutique pedals, just some crazy, high-end gear. And it's all just MXR and Boss stuff, which is nothing wrong with, but it's kind of like, clearly was sent stuff from MXR. Like, they confirmed that. And he was just like, yeah, this sounds great. And he just stuck with it. So I guess just more of that. I don't really think he's going to be using anything crazy, but I'm sure there's going to be some changes that just, you might see it and be like, oh, whoa. That's kind of out of left field. To be fair, though, I did not really enjoy Return of the Dream Canteen. I'm on the side that's kind of like, really hyped up for them having their best songs for this album, and I don't necessarily feel that way, at least right now. Maybe I just need more time listening to it, but I'm kind of like, it's not really my favorite album they've put out, to say the least. Hey, Keith, how are you? Nice to hear from you. It was kind of funny. After our live stream, I just was like, I kind of had a lot of fun when I did that with you. And then I was like, I'll just get out and chat with everyone for a little bit and hang out. It's nice to have you pop in. I'll have to shoot you an email about some stuff that's happening tomorrow, actually. I think you'd get a kick out of it. Alex, how do you think a Silver Sky does playing some Chili Peppers? It does great. I mean, you got to remember, even though it's a John Mayer signature, they just designed it to be kind of a quintessential vintage Strat. Like, let's call it what it is. It's Strat, right? They designed it just to be a really great modern take on a vintage instrument. And if you can get around the 7 1/4 radius, for example, which I personally actually really like, the pickups, they're just low output, but you could always change them out. But overall, it sounds like a Strat style guitar. It sounds like a Strat. And so any of those guitars are really going to do great at the John Frusciante thing. All you need is single coils, right? So you could always, do the thing, maybe put in some Seymour Duncan SSL ones in them, because I believe you can actually put Strat pickups in the Silver Sky. I've seen some people at least claim to have done that. I haven't researched it a ton just because I like what they put in there, but stock wise, it's going to sound great. Even the SC with a little bit hotter pickups actually would do a really good job, I think, of the John Frusciante thing. And the Silver Sky is mainly what I play. Like, I don't touch my Mayer Strat even that much. Yeah. Have I tried the Boss Katana head from Mayer Cleans? No, I've never actually tried the Boss Katana. My kind of amp experience is relatively small. I just kind of went big with getting the traditional clean, to be honest, for like the Mara thing, and kind of skipped a few steps, if I'm being honest. But no, I haven't tried the Boss Katana, but I think it's just a really great amp that just can kind of do a lot of great sounds. You can get a lot of great sounds out of it. There's a lot of great tones. And I think it's just one of those things where it's just kind of a jack of all trades almost, that just can do a lot of things for really good value. Yeah, I'm sure it does absolutely fantastic. Thanks, Keith. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, like I said, it was a lot of fun, and it's just kind of nice to get out and connect with everyone. And the live stream's already been going for 25.5 minutes. It's going by quick. I remember when we did ours, I looked at the time, and we were, I think, just getting into maybe Born and Raised era or Battle Studies, and we were over halfway done. And I was like, oh my God, there is so much to talk about and so much to go over. So we could have easily done a part 2 to that one, but yeah, it was a really great time. It was a lot of fun, and I like just hanging out with everyone and chilling. You notice too, if you've seen any of my new videos, I've taken your advice with the lighting, and I've tried to kind of work on it being less washed out and a bit more focused. But I got to get a little bit of better lighting down here for sure and work on that. What direction do I hope Mayer goes on his next record? So John originally had something like a jazz album in the works. He's working on a jazz album, and then we never heard anything about it. After it was kind of teased and discussed briefly, the next thing you know, he never released it. Now that he's gone from Columbia, I think it actually could be really cool if we heard like a jazz album from John. But I just would honestly love if he went back to his roots of even, getting Steve and Pino in the room and recording some trio stuff. They never ended up doing that. And he always said he'd love to make a John Mayer trio record. Well, he's an independent now, and something like that I think would be great, or just moving back kind of to that era. Sob Rock was a bit more poppy and less kind of bluesy. If he went kind of more back to his original roots, like let's just say Continuum. Obviously, I think that's the easy one, but I mean, I think we're gonna like whatever John puts out to begin with. I didn't expect to like Sob Rock actually as much as I did. I really love that album. Besides the fact that we got 3 songs released like a year and a half early, like we had Carry Me Away, New Light, and I guess I just feel like we'd had those songs for like a year and a half, and then they took up 3 out of the 10 spots on the album. That's my only complaint. It would have been nice to have gone like 12 or 13. Give us, 10 new songs, and then not 3 we've lived with forever, right? But you never know. That could have been Columbia as well, being like, well, we want to give these songs a better chance, so put them on your record kind of deal. But yeah. I tried out the Victory Duchess V40 Deluxe. It's getting a ton of love lately. Sounds like a fun amp. I almost bought one, actually. I was chatting with Guitar Brando up in Edmonton, Canada. They're a Victory dealer in Canada, and I was chatting with those guys. And I originally kind of wanted something a little bit more affordable for the channel when I was really like planning on making a ton of gear demos and stuff like that. And I kind of moved away from it just because those videos also are just insanely time consuming to get the tones in. By the time you get the takes, do everything like that, and like that, like they're just way more time consuming. And then I decided I'm not going to just buy an amp just for the channel, although that would have been kind of a nice, easier portable amp. But yeah, I think those are great amps, Victories. I mean, Chris Buck uses Victories a lot too, and he sounds fantastic. So I think that would be a great amp, and I almost bought one. Hey, Simon, great to see you in here, man. Hope all's well with you too, dude. Your clone's doing well, by the way. Getting lots of love as always. So Sky, the action is a little high. If you can just go get it taken to tech and get it lowered. I never touched my Silver Sky. The only thing I did, and my friend Gabe, you guys know Gabe Bergman, when I got my mock sand one in from our friend Tommy, I bought it off of. The first thing he was like, dude, you just got to lower the pickups a little bit. Lower the pickups, and then it'll be perfect. And that's what I did, and I haven't touched it. I just threw the Ernie Ball 10.5 Ones are 10.5 to whatever they are, the Mega Slinkies, I think they're called. I threw those on and boom. That's what I like. But yeah, you got to set it up for how you like it. I mean, every other guitar I have is set up for exactly how I like it. Like the Les Pauls are a top wound, like the Bonamassa thing, way heavier gauge strings on them. But yeah, just set it up to however you like it for sure. Okay, if they use the amp that Chris uses, you can dial it brighter than the V40, makes it sound like a Fender Marshall or like a Vox. I remember you telling me about that. It sounded really interesting. Those victories and how versatile you said it was. I went back and watched the video on your studio tour, actually, because I was trying to get some ideas as well for kind of my studio. I say studio. This is literally a corner of my basement, essentially. My basement's like a big L shape, and this is one corner. And then actually right here is a bar. I got like a full bar with, you know, like all my scotch and Jimmy Buffett Margaritaville maker and stuff, but there's actually a bar right here that you guys don't see. And this originally in the house was this wood trimming you see around was supposed to be just like if you had a pool table down here or something, you could put your glass on it and stuff like that. But yeah, so anyways, my studio down here, that's kind of the setup you guys don't get to see. So maybe I'll do a studio tour. But yeah, I'd love to try Victory amps, but where I live, at least in Canada, we don't have a Victory dealer in town. I'd have to buy one or go do like a 3-4 hour drive, unfortunately. Ooh, I was hoping someone would ask about this. How was the Taylor Hawkins tribute show? It was incredible. It was one of those evenings where while it was happening, I knew that I would never experience another night of music quite like this. Just the bill, when just like people were just coming out, you know, Def Leppard comes out. And then you have, the guitarist from the Cars, he came out. I'm blanking on some of these guys' names. Even just like Stuart Copeland, the drummer from the Police, came out and drummed a bit. Obviously Chad from the Red Hot Chili Peppers came out and drummed. Just people that like I've always wanted to see, like Rush. Like Jack Black came out and introduced Rush, which was wild. It was absolutely wild. Like, you know, bands I never really thought I'd get the opportunity to see, like Rush, for example, and Queen, you know, Brian May and Roger Taylor. It was really great. The music was phenomenal. Pink was a huge surprise too. Oh my God, does she have an incredible voice? The stuff she sang was just, she was a highlight, to be honest. I'd always known that Pink was like cool and stuff like that, but to hear her sing live, she did. I say she's probably one of the best vocalists for sure. But the concert was great. Pretty emotional though. Like when Wolfgang Van Halen came out, they had a big picture up on the screens around kind of the forum of Eddie, Wolf, and Taylor. So it's kind of like him honoring his father and Taylor at the same time, two, you know, phenomenal musicians that are no longer with us. It's pretty emotional and stuff like that. But yeah, it was great. It was a great experience. I love LA. It's a great time down there. And yeah, it just was, it was fantastic. Have I played the Zach Myers PRS? Because myself, I need it. Yeah, that's what I do with a lot of stuff too. It's like, well, I don't need it, but in a few minutes later, I'm like, no, I need it. SE models are pretty legit these days. Yeah, SE models are fantastic. My SE Silver Sky had a few different issues that I needed to kind of work with, and just, you know, I probably would have sent it back to get a model that probably wasn't a floor model. That's what I think mine was for, you know, a few days at least. I think mine sat on the floor and then it kind of got banged up a little bit, and then they sold it to me as new, is what at least I theorize is what happened. But otherwise, I was blown away by how great they are. Even like I think it's the S2 594s and stuff like that. The different range PRS has in their more affordable guitars are fantastic. And I think, you know, especially if you're unsure of a different style of guitar, for example, they're a really great shout to kind of try out and just see if you like it and bond with it. I think those are really cool PRSs though. Not quite my thing, but I think they're really great. And same thing. I don't really have a big PRS dealer where I live as well. Long McQuaid, again, is kind of Canada's Guitar Center. We'll get some PRSs in, but that's really it. Like, you know, you'll get the odd like special semi-hollow or a used one and a few different ones, but we don't get it. I don't know why. Like, we're a big town. Like I say town, like we're one of the biggest cities in Canada, but we just don't have dealers. You know, the two dealers that you get are Toronto and Vancouver, get really everything. And then the rest of Canada gets nothing. So, you know, next time I'm in LA, maybe I'll try out some more PRSs. Maybe Gabe and I can run down to check out a few different stores. Should be a lot of fun. Ah, the charcoal silver sky. Yeah. Hopefully we see something at NAMM this year announced with it. And if they changed up the specs again, I'd love the charcoal one. I think that's my favorite color overall, besides Nebula, obviously. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised too, because considering like pretty much every year the pickups are different in the silver skies slightly. Because if you guys watch my video that I did on the history of them, it's like they changed from the 2018-19. In 2020 they changed slightly, and then in 2021 they changed again, even more drastically, and it's kind of crazy. Just everything that they're doing, and yet they don't kind of say, but it's like we all can consistently measure the pickups that they're different. They're getting different readings from them, so clearly they're different. But they're just kind of like, oh, we just kind of developed the guitar as John wants it. It's kind of like their way of saying, yes, we change things without saying they change things. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. But overall, all the Silver Sky pickups sound great. I mean, I've owned 2 Silver Skies, this one in my Nebula that I used to have, and I've played a bunch of 2018 and 2019 ones, and they all honestly sound great. So, I mean, you know, at least they're not making bad pickups, and you know they're going to be great no matter what. But I do prefer the 2021 one. So as long as they stay more lower output, then I think we'd be good. Oh, this is an interesting question. Favorite guitar Mayer has used that wasn't a Strat or a Silver Sky? And why is it the Gibson L5? The guys follow a gentleman named Jesse who does is Jesse's Guitar Lounge on Instagram. Really wicked dude. Incredible collection. He's owned 5 dumbbells in the past, 3 of which Mayer has owned at some point. No, 4. He owned Steel String Singer 002 before John bought it off him, and then he traded him one of his ODSs that he used on Continuum. He owned one of the Dumblelands, and he owned the Overdrive Reverb that John used during the Trio era as well. But point being is that he owns a Gibson L5, exact same as the one John used. Incredible guitars, for sure. But I don't know. I think mine might be that silver 594. I think that's just a really incredible looking guitar. And I remember John played Edge of Desire when I saw him live in Los Angeles this year, and seeing that guitar in person, I was like, wow. Yeah, I think that's my favorite. But the Gibson L5 is a huge one. That opening scene for Where the Light is just iconic. Him up there. Oh, and he owns that amp as well. Jesse owns that amplifier that John used on the Hill in Mulholland, actually. He owns that exact amplifier, which is really cool as well. Yeah, no problem. I'm trying to be as thorough as possible. I'm just having fun. So I was originally going to do this an hour, but I'll hang out a little bit longer than that. Sweetwater, yeah, I have a friend who works at Sweetwater, who's kind of like my connection. I also have a friend who works at Chicago Music Exchange. So, I mean, those would kind of be probably my go-to, to be honest. I just import them into Canada, but then I get hit with custom fees as well on everything I bring in. So my cost of shipping is higher, and then my import cost is higher as well. And plus, right now, the Canadian dollar is terrible. I'm not sure if you guys have been paying attention to just the financial markets right now, but oh my God, the Canadian dollar is just absolutely god awful. And so anything I ever wanted to get in American right now, it's just, I'm just waiting at this point. But that said, when I got my traditional clean from Chicago Music Exchange, duties import wasn't that much, and they shipped it to me for free. So Chicago Music Exchange helped me out a lot. They helped your boy out a lot. The PRS Super Eagle SE. I mean, that would be amazing, but I would, again, this is one of those things I'd bet my whole collection that it would never happen. Mainly because John isn't playing the Super Eagle anymore. We haven't seen him use it in a very long time. He's sticking with Honey and even using the Silver Sky with Dead & Company. So you never know. You might see a cool release when it comes down to the final Dead & Company tour. Those Honey-inspired 594s that we have seen from the private stock from PRS being created, is that something like a upcoming limited edition run that they're doing of Honey, in coinciding with the final Dead & Company tour? That's one theory I just have. Probably isn't true, but can't say it's not until it doesn't happen, right? But I don't know. I don't think we'll ever see an SE Super Eagle. I think they'd have to make another private stock Super Eagle first and then go to doing it. And that's if John started playing one again. I think what's honestly more likely is seeing an actual Honey from PRS. That's another John Mayer signature and kind of the next step towards the Super Eagle lineage, I guess, of like the Dead & Company sound. But hopefully John does continue touring with Bob Weir and doing some sort of Dead & Company version in the future. Maybe they'll take a year or two off, but with that kind of ending, well, I don't know. We'll see what happens. A part of me also thinks they were supposed to end last year touring. And then remember it leaked that like this is going to be their last year to tour. And then they came out being like, oh no. Like I think Bob was like, this is the first I'm hearing of it. And then the next year is their final tour. It's kind of like maybe you guys just kind of out of it leaking were like, okay, you know what, let's just do one more just so that, you know, these leaks weren't true. I don't know. These are the theories and thoughts that run through my head of what's going on. Hey, Wes, hope you're doing well, man. Seems like John really favors his gloss mock sand. It's number one. Do you think it's a 2020 spec guitar? I think that John's playing whatever is the most modern version of the guitar. I think that's, at least to me, that's what makes the most sense. He can ask for any finish he wants from PRS, and I just believe that he would have been like, all right, you know what, like, let's move back to gloss, actually. That's kind of, you know, satin was fun, but I want to go back to gloss, and give me gloss, but his spec. And that's the thing. We say 2020 spec. I guarantee you, too, John is using a different spec than what we currently have. Like, for example, during the 2019 World Tour, he road tested, Midnight, it's not Midnight Rose, the Rose Gold Silver Sky finish. I can't believe I'm blanking on it. He road tested that finish. He road tested satin mock sand on the road. And I guarantee you that essentially his R&D process is playing it live. That's what he said is kind of how he determines he likes something, is to get up on stage and actually use it in a live context. And that's how he knows if that's the direction he wants to go with something, or maybe it needs a little bit more of this or that. So it's whatever spec that he's currently using, which, you know, for us might be the 2023 spec, you know, this past year. He was road testing. And then that's what's going to happen in our guitars. He's always a little bit ahead of us. And he's come out and said, too, they have like a 4-year running outlook at all times on the Silver Sky 2. So it's possible that they're also spec completely different. That Roxy Pink one and then the Gloss Mock Sand one were kind of the two main ones that he used during the the Sawbrock World Tour. But the Mock Sand one was tuned for E flat, I believe. Someone quote me if I'm, or let me know if I'm wrong on that, but that's what I believe was going on. But anyways, he's using whatever spec he has that we don't have right now. Gary John used an Eric Clapton's The Breeze tribute. I don't remember that show off the top of my head, but I'll keep a mental note of it, and I'll look into it for you, and I'll make a post or something, or I'll do a video on it. But Alejandro from John Mayer Gear as well might have touched on it too. So check his Instagram page out if you haven't. Maybe he's done a post on it, but I'm not remembering that actual performance off the top of my head. What's the best guitar tone for Only Heart? That's such an interesting era. Heavier Things. It's actually a really great song, Only Heart. Best overall tone, just vintage Strat sound into like a clean Fender or a Two-Rock. Heavier Things was when John first started using Two-Rock amps. He also got his first ODS around that time. Hard to say what was used on the record, but honestly, just a clean Fender or anything in his vein, honestly, will get you there if that's what you're looking for. Yeah, if you're in the chat, thanks, Craig. Yeah, if you're in the chat right now, smash that like button for me. I appreciate it. All hail that stubborn YouTube algorithm, which has been giving me a lot of issue lately. Yeah, YouTube's been really pushing their algorithm on shorts, and if anyone makes a short video, it's going to blow your analytics out of a regular video out of the water. They like, and Instagram's doing the same thing too, pushing reels, right? So yeah, analytics are down. I literally got one day in my YouTube studio thing being like, oh, your videos have been recommended less on the homepage, so that's why you've gotten less views. And I'm like, yeah, thanks for letting me know that. Like, you know, I know that you guys are recommending regular videos less to people, and therefore they're getting clicked on less. But yeah, like button, comments all help the algorithm, so they're always greatly appreciated, even if it's just saying hey or whatever. They help. So I'm getting behind. This was happened last time too. What other players besides Mayer and Frusciante am I into? Josh Smith. Sorry, I was looking at the wall because I got some signed stuff that you guys don't really get to see on the wall up here too that I have. You know, like Ariel Posen, Josh Smith. I both really like those guys. Again, getting to see Ariel in concert tomorrow, and I'll again, I just have something cool to share with you guys tomorrow about that, which will be really interesting. And then yeah, Ariel, Josh Smith. I really love Joe Bonamassa, honestly. It's kind of like maybe a cliche thing, you know, like the boomer kind of thing, but I don't know. I just think Joe is wicked. Like, I watched his cover of Going Down was the first kind of introduction I had to Joe Bonamassa. And then I watched his cover of Just Got Paid, and I was kind of sold from then on. And then I used to own his high-powered twin tweed from the Fender Custom Shop. His one of his signature amplifiers. The guy's got a signature everything at this point. But I had one of those, loved it. Yeah, he's really great. Chris Buck. Oh my God. Yeah, Chris Buck is probably my favorite player. Him, Ariel Posen. They're probably my two favorite players out there right now, besides John Frusciante and Mayer. Josh Smith is obviously really high up there as well. Chris Buck, though, like January Came Close. It's a phenomenal album. If you guys haven't listened to it, it's just blew me away. It's really nice to see Chris Buck actually doing super well as well. He's just such a talented guy. To see him doing really great with their new album with Cardinal Black is fantastic. So yeah, those guys are kind of like my thing. Yeah, that'd be cool. If they brought gloss mock sand back, that'd be really interesting. You can actually find a gloss mock sand silver sky with the low output pickups. That's actually why my friend Tom, you guys probably know him, Tom Guitars on Instagram. He's active in the lounge and stuff too. He originally bought a satin mock sand silver sky. Then he sold his gloss. I think he had a gloss mock sand silver sky. Then he decided he liked the gloss finish better, but liked the new pickups more. And so there was a crossover point where PRS was producing back orders of the gloss mock sand finish, but they were then putting the new pickups inside them. And that's what Tommy actually has. It's a gloss mock sand, but it's actually the spec of a 2021 model, even though it's a 2020 finish. So you can actually find guitars like that if you want one like that. The best way to go about this route would be to try and find the date it was manufactured, and then the serial number, and just try and contact PRS customer service to see if that's one of them. Or even better, ask the seller for a reading of the pickups. And if you can get that done and it done accurately, that'll tell you which pickups are actually in it. And if the readings are with the newer ones, then boom, you know it's a gloss mock sand silver sky with the new pickups in it. That's what I do if I were you. Find a used one and you're golden. Oh man, this is one thing I want to do a video on, but it's going to be so long. The Crossroads performance with John and Keith is probably, if I had to choose besides Where the Light Is, it might be kind of like my favorite Mayer performance ever. I really like Keith Urban too, actually. I'm not a huge country guy, but I really do like Keith Urban. That show, the 2012 one, the first one they did, that's just I have that full concert actually downloaded onto my phone, and I'll listen to it. It's just so brilliant. He plays, I think you're referencing the Duesenberg. Oh, what is that? I'm gonna Google that. It's Mike Campbell, that's it. Who was the guitar player for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. That's his guitar signature version. It's the blue one with the white racing stripes. Yeah, that guitar is phenomenal. And never wanted a Duesenberg until I first watched that clip. And I was like, all right, I want a Duesenberg now. Yeah, that's brilliant. Absolutely. An amazing concert. Him and Keith Urban together, if they toured, oh my God, that would just be incredible. Or if they worked on something together, I think that'd be amazing. Like Keith and John doing Gravity together, or Till Summer Comes Around, like the vocals that they did together, the harmonies and everything were just fantastic. Like, I don't know, those two, like, they're great friends too, right? And I don't know. I just wish we'd see more of the two of them together, more collabs. Collab with Ariel Posen and John as well would be just incredible. Yeah, hopefully we get something like that one day too. All right, I'm gonna try and catch up a little bit here. What pedal shoes for Helpless, and thanks for responses. Love your channel. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And like I said, it's just fun to hang out with you guys and just chill. What a great way to spend a holiday Friday. What pedal shoes for Helpless? Clean amp is mainly what you want. I was always under the impression that he was using the Klon always on for that show, that song live. But it's really just clean amps. They're just so loud, and there's a lot more Fender in that song, especially live. That's at least what I hear. And once I got the Bandmaster and mixed it in with the 2-Rock, then I was a lot happier with my Helpless tone, because it kind of, that Fendery sound is just really, I think, present in the way Helpless sounds, if that makes sense at all. Pedals though, chorus for the solo is what I would do. Tube Screamer Klon for the main solo, and then outro solo, just go full out, add a third drive if you want, a Katana for the boost. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Sorry, just trying to catch up here, guys. Maybe. I mean, Nebula and Lunar Ice were just hits, right? I mean, they sold out instantly. That's maybe, I don't really regret ever letting go of gear, but I think for me, letting go of the Nebula is slightly one regret I have, just because that guitar was so badass. The finish was incredible. Yeah, I really did like that guitar, but I just was like, for what they were going for at the time, and I gave a member of our Gear Lounge a deal on it. I sold it for, at the time, less than any had been sold on Reverb before. I gave him a good deal on it. I still did well too, of course, which is fair, but I didn't totally, like, take all of his lunch money or anything like that. I do miss that guitar, so we'll see. But John, like the Lunar Ice, what the heck happened with that? He showed having the Lunar Ice for rehearsals, and you assume he's going out on tour with them, and then you never see it. So that was kind of disappointing, actually. Keith, you guys are talking about the L5 still. Referring to Jesse's? I don't know what year his is. What exactly? Yeah, I'm not versed on those guitars, to be honest. He'd be somebody to talk about with that, though. Right? It's fantastic on that one. Honestly, sweet thing too. The guitar duel that John and Keith kind of do at the very end. I love how Keith does that, just one quick run completely down the neck, and then John just rips into 10 seconds of straight Stevie Ray Vaughan. I always just kind of like had a laugh, and I was like, all right, like they're having a guitar duel, sorry, and Keith's got some great chops, and they he does something a little bit flashier, and then John just like, all right, I'm just gonna I'm gonna end the duel here and now, and just does a ton of Stevie Ray Vaughan. And that's kind of a thing you don't see him do that often anymore, like straight kind of in that vein of guitar playing, at least. He's developed his own inspired style, but that brief look, you guys know the one I'm talking about if you've seen the Sweet Thing collab live that they did for Crossroads. That was wicked. Oh God, Biebs featuring Mayor. If it was like The Purpose, is that The Purpose tour? What was his album? I don't know. I like some of the songs off that album, actually, from Bieber. They weren't terrible, but that's really all I've ever liked. It was a decent album. I guess he's Canadian, trying to show some support, but that kind of era was really sweet too. He's wearing nothing but Fear of God for that whole tour, which is pretty sick. If you guys are into streetwear, at least. That was a cool era for Bieber, at least. Oh, favorite Sobrock song? Shot in the Dark, maybe. I don't know. Shot in the Dark, Last Train Home. I like them all kind of equally. Maybe Shot in the Dark. I think the live outro solo he did on for the Palladium show, I think that was really cool with a lot of delay and kind of like space in his soloing. That made me really fall in love with that song, actually. So yeah, Shot in the Dark's the first one I said. I'll go with my gut. Thanks, Mike. Hopefully my channel and everything helps people get inspired to play a bit more and stuff like that, which is something I need to work on, being inspired and playing a lot more. Hence me wanting a more portable amp to actually get out and play with people and just focus on playing with people. I've been taking my lessons more seriously too. I've been taking lessons for a while from a local musician who's phenomenal. And, you know, I've been taking them a little bit more seriously now. Any updates on the Frusciante signature model? I can't say what I kind of know, or at least if my source is even accurate or not. I guess that's kind of like saying something. I don't know. I've heard rumors that he's testing, like he's working on something with Fender, but I don't know. I don't know how legit that is. I shouldn't say, I don't have a source on this. I've just heard like from some people have just messaged me being like, oh, like he does have a signature model coming. And I'm like, well, who's your source? And they're like, I can't tell you. And I'm like, okay, well, that, you know, that doesn't really tell me anything. So, you know, I'm one of those guys who I don't really believe something until I see it, or unless like I know the source is good. I've heard other people saying that it's just a backup, and they say they also have a source, and that it's just, you know, it's just a new guitar he got. He's kind of testing out and that's all it is. And they're like, we know someone in the camp. So it's like, I don't know. I think people sometimes just say things too, just to, you know, or they think they have a source. I don't know. Sorry, that's not really saying much. I try and be careful too and respect my sources and things as well. Yeah. So I'm hearing different things. So I don't know. It'd be great if they do. Master built custom shop, Mexican model. It would sell amazingly well. And to have something inspired by John. And when I talked about that guitar, actually, I'll touch on this for a second. When I talked about that guitar in that one video, people were saying that, like, why would anyone buy a Frusciante signature model? Get a 60s Strat and you're there. And that's kind of not the point. I see signature models as a way to connect with the artist, regardless of the specs of the guitar. Because obviously, a Frusciante signature Strat is essentially just a 62 Stratocaster, right? That's what it is. There's nothing special. There's no mods he's done to it, like, as far as we know, right? If we believe at least Dave Lee, they said that it's just, you know, standard Fender pickups in it, right? I think I see these guitars too as a way, you know, to connect with the artist, and two, it's like, if it makes you play more, then there's nothing wrong with it. Buy what you like. If you are gonna have a harder time walking past it without picking it up and playing it, if it looks like Eric Clapton's, you know, whatever, if it looks like John Frusciante's, even his Fiesta Strat, if you buy a guitar that just is inspired by another guitar player's gear and it makes you pick up the guitar and play more, then there's nothing wrong with that in my mind, you know? So a lot of people seem kind of perplexed about why someone would want that model. It's like, well, why not, right? We do this one first. Anything for humidity controlled. I live in the Midwest and my guitars take a beating. It's not the case with packs. Oh yeah. I have two massive humidifiers that actually sit just behind where my computer is. That in the wintertime, which it should be about now, actually, honestly, I should start running them. I'll have them going 24/7. In Canada, very dry, very quickly in our winters. And yeah, like acoustic guitars, I would not leave out, even honestly year round. I would leave them in their case with actually like a little humidifier in its case. But these guys, electric guitars, as long as I have a humidifier down here, I can keep the humidity relatively controlled. And, you know, the odd time I'll notice them kind of going out of whack and they'll need to get, I just send everything to my techs. I don't know how to set up guitar or anything. I've just never learned. And my guitar tech's really great. So I just send it to him if I'm noticing I'm having tuning issues or anything like that. If the frets are starting to sprout a little bit just with the humidity and weather changes and stuff like that. But yeah, yeah, I just run two massive humidifiers that I run 24/7 in the winter. And an electric guitar is fair fine. Remember Action Duesenberg, summer comes around world class. Yeah, just such a gentle touch John had for that performance, but it was perfect. Yeah, That Duesenberg's a cool guitar. Very cool for sure. Sure, The Breeze was an album Eric Clapton did for J.J. Cale mentioned. Oh, okay, right. That album. Haven't listened to it that much, to be honest. I don't listen to a lot of Clapton. That might be sacrilegious to say, but I don't. I like Eric Clapton. I just don't listen to a lot of them. I'll keep that in mind, though. Like I said, I'll talk to Alejandro and see if he hasn't done a post on it yet. That might be a bit more of something he would know, because I don't really know off the top of my head the stuff John used. But for the most part, I'd assume pick the center stuff he was using for that time, and then that's probably what he used. Hey, Robert, hope you're doing well too, man. Nice to see you in the stream. Hope you're doing well. Looked at Instagram. Oh, no. Is that just a thing? What's going on with Instagram, or just your account specifically? Do you run the JM style page in IG? I used to. Well, I still technically do. It started off as just being like, oh, I'm a sneakerhead. I have a pretty big like a sneaker collection. And it just was cool to see him appreciating it, because he's really the only guitarist out there that rocks like crazy collab sneakers out there. I mean, Dave Grohl wears Jordan 1s, like bread ones, rather religiously, actually. But other than him, like I don't really see any other guitarist out there who's rocking, you know, Levi's Jordan 4s. Travis Scott 1 lows. Narcan and Prestos, obviously. I don't see anyone else kind of rocking that stuff, and I just thought it was really cool. And then I'm a big fan of streetwear and that stuff too, so I kind of got into that a little bit, just running it. But it's with so much time and effort to do it, I just couldn't do it anymore. So yeah, the channel's, that page is kind of dead. It just was fun to be like, oh, you know, this is X Visvim piece he was using. My buddy Gabe or Robert want to kind of run that channel, hit me up, or that page, sorry, and I'll give you guys the login info if you guys want to take that on, because those guys know more about Visvim and that stuff than I do anyway. Hey, Alex, how you doing, man? Original Marshall Bluesbreaker pedal coming next week. Oh, dude, that's wicked. Congrats on the Mark I Bluesbreaker purchase. That's a huge one. That's a phenomenal pedal. That's really great. I know Mayor does Bluesbreaker into two scream. What do you prefer? Thanks. Any tone tips for the Bluesbreaker? So there are two different versions of the Mark I Bluesbreaker. Oh God. The earlier one has whatever changes to it where you need to crank it more to get a lot more out of it. So don't be afraid to turn all three knobs up like to 3 o'clock. That's what I had to do when I owned one, and I sold mine when I thought I bought a Mark I Octopus, and then just to raise some quick cash for it. And then, yeah, you guys probably know the story that happened with that, but I'll get another one eventually. But yeah, don't be afraid to crank the thing up. What I would do if you have a Klon style pedal and you want to run Tube Screamer, Klon, and Bluesbreaker, go Bluesbreaker, Tube Screamer, and then Klon, because you kind of get the best of both worlds. You can boost the Tube Screamer, and then you also can boost the Klon. So you kind of get the two best things. But yeah, congrats on that purchase. That's a huge one. Wicked pedal. You're gonna love it for sure. That's awesome to hear. Hey. Quick question for you about the Octopus Mark I. You mentioned around the time you got yours that you only saw one other available that was listed a bit above market. What would you say? And then the next one, what would I say is above market for them? Let me check actually on Reverb. Right now, if anyone's looking for a way huge Mark I Octopus, there was one on Reverb earlier today and yesterday, actually. I'm just going on Reverb right now. So by high to low. Yeah, it's still up there. Okay, bear with me. Oh, I can. Here you go. Going in the chat on stream. That's my second time ever using the stream, and that's why there's a little powered by StreamYard thing in your screen, because it's really expensive actually to get like the streaming plan from StreamYard that like doesn't have the overlay, and you can do 1080p. I'm using like a different free trial for 1080p right now through my camera, but it's like $500 US paid up front for the full year. It's really expensive. But in the chat is the Reverb link for Mark I Octopus right now. That I believe is overpriced for the condition. There was one from Edmonton in Canada that sold for more than that in the summer. but it was in pretty mint condition, and it was an AP1, which those tend to fetch a little bit more money than the AP2, which is the one I have. The market for them, I say there is no like market price for them. They are so rare and so highly desired. I think that for the most part, it's whatever someone's willing to pay. You know, someone could list a Mark I Octopus for 10 grand on Reverb, and then just be like, I'll have the limit off where, you know, in Reverb where it will automatically decline offers if they're within a certain threshold. A guy could just do that and remove that option and then just take the highest offer, or put it on eBay even. There's one I was bidding on eBay before I actually got mine that I lost to Ryan Colwyn, who's the Tone Geek. Yeah, so him and I unknowingly got into bidding war on eBay for one. And so, sorry if you're watching this, Ryan. I'm sorry I cost you a little bit more money. I would have not have done that if I knew we both were bidding on the same pedal for sure. Because yeah, that wasn't great. But I think like that's the best way if anyone's selling one of those to do is do it on eBay, because there's no, if you want to make money. Because I don't think there is a market price. It's whatever someone's willing to pay. Like, and I paid, you know, a considerable amount for mine, but not what that is listed at. I wouldn't pay that for that condition personally. If you have the money, I mean, by all means. But I don't think there's really a market for them. And when I bought mine, that one in Edmonton that sold for like, I think 6,500 Canadian, which right now with US dollars, probably like $2. Right now, yeah, that one sold for ask, but I paid way less for mine. But it's an AP2, so you know the two different versions of the Mark I Octopus kind of command maybe a slightly different collector's premium, I guess, because more people kind of want the AP1 version. But the AP2 is what was used for Where the Light Is, the Trio, Continuum. And that's one I kind of wanted more, actually, to be honest. So I got the one I wanted. I'd like to get both eventually, but yeah, right now those pedals, they've gone the way of the clone. It's kind of whatever the seller wants at this point. I'm surprised it hasn't sold already, to be honest, but it probably will within a day or so if no one else buys it for a decent price. Hopefully not that much though, because I wouldn't pay that personally. If you want to take it over, Robert, you or Gabe or anyone, that's kind of yeah, I did it for fun. And then I was like, between everything in life and running this channel, I could barely post to my own like guitar Instagram regularly, to be honest, which I really need to get back and doing again. It was cool just to be like, yeah, what piece is he wearing? And some stuff was kind of affordable if you wanted to kind of get new ideas for fits or stuff. Again, I really just am a big sneakerhead, so that's why I started it. Started doing it. Chris, Brown Protein or King of Tone Duelist? Haven't played either, to be honest. So I always don't like giving my opinion on something unless I have played it, or I try not to. Can't go wrong with either, I'd say. I think they both are really great. A bit of two different things. Mayer thing, I definitely stick with the Duelist. If you're after the John Mayer kind of sound, that's what I'd stick with. But both would be really great. We've been going for 1 hour and 8 minutes. If you guys got any more questions or anything you want me to discuss, let me know, or else we'll get ready to wrap it up here. Kind of answered this at the beginning of the stream, but I'll cover it again. I mentioned a Vibroverb, like the reissue, not obviously the vintage one. I like one of those because it's portable, and I touched on wanting to get out and playing with people more often, and actually like falling back in love with playing instead of kind of guitar and my gear revolving around the channel, which it's kind of happened. And, you know, I found myself just not picking up the guitar and enjoying it. Free time is a lot of, you know, doing whatever. Like Modern Warfare 2 is taking up some of my free time too, but making the channel, doing that also takes up my time. So I want to just get to where, you know, I can come down here and jam out to a song or work on something new, get better at theory, and just, you know, fall back in love with that. So that's why I want a Vibroverb, to play with people more, because I'm not hauling any of this stuff around. Well, besides what you'll see tomorrow. How to use a compressor in the Mayer board? Is Keeley Katana always on? Okay, first part, compressor in a John Mayer board. John, compression in terms of a pedal form isn't really that important, to be honest. I'd say that's like, once you have all the fundamentals of clean boost, different overdrives, even chorus, different delays kind of covered, slapback, long delay, Gutron, I'd say the compression is kind of like an afterthought. Mayer, when he uses the slide rig, it's set up more as a boost. So he's adding a little bit of compression, but it's really kind of just boosting his signal. So you could use a Katana for that, to be honest, either way, and kind of more or less achieve the same thing. Katana, though, is not always on. The best example of this is for the Letterman show in 2013, 2014. He had 3 Katanas on his pedal board. One was a boost, one was a leveler, and then one was in the loop of the Qtron. And those are kind of the 3 ways John uses the Katana. The Kirkland is a final boost, and same with the Wamp from 29 pedals, but it's beside the point. The leveler, if he's got a low output guitar, like the pickups are really low output, at that time at least, he doesn't worry about that now. But at that time, what he would do is he would use the leveler as an always on with that specific guitar for whatever song he was performing with it, to bring the level of the rest of the chain up to match the level of the hotter guitars, essentially, in his rig. But for us, you know, at home, or even, I guess if you're gigging and you want to do the same thing, then yeah, sure, by all means. But I mean, for me, I can just turn my amp up, or it doesn't matter if my guitar is a little bit quieter, really, when I'm playing just at home. So you don't really need to do it. But no, it's not always on in the typical fashion. If he just sets and forgets it, leaves it always on. No Mayer pedal is always on. That's the best kind of way to think about it. Sneakerhead, you sing New Balance Waterby the guides. Maybe posted them a while ago. Great shoes. I think maybe Mayer posted them a while ago. No, I was looking at the JJ Jones from New Balance, actually, but I don't know. I want to get a couple new pairs of sneakers in the near future because I sold off a lot of my collection, and I don't need to wear a suit or anything for my actual job. It's kind of more progressive. You just wear sneakers and stuff to the office downtown. So yeah, I like to get a couple more pairs, but haven't planned on copying anything. I got into golf really big this summer, actually, when I was like concussed and everything for like 6 months, and I couldn't do a lot of stuff I like to do. So yeah, I'd like to get another pair of Jordans, the Eastside Golf Jordans that are coming out in like a few days. I like to try and get those, but yeah. Yep, I did. I own the Dahana, Dhanya, however you spell it. Pronounce it Dahana. I own that one. It's the Smoky Signal tubeless overdrive clone. It's really the only pedal that's cloned of that one, because that Smoky Signal tubeless pedal is one of the last kind of unobtainium Mayer pedals that at least I need, besides the Cornish TES. That one, instead of using like the clone's goop, they built the circuit inside of a little box on the inside of the enclosure, but on the inside of the box. So if you when you open the pedal up, there's really just like this little black box inside of it and wires coming out. And so if you wanted to open up the box, you'd rip apart the circuit on the inside of the box. I have no idea how they even did it, but this guy actually apparently figured it out, a way to like get the schematic from the pedal, because obviously the builder from Smoky Signal passed away. So yeah, that was a really fun pedal. I really enjoyed it. But the other thing is that there's 3 different versions of the Smoky Signal. They're all based on different tubes. Like there's an EL34 version, I think a 6L6 version. So they all sound different too. So which one John uses, it's even harder to figure out. But yeah, really cool pedal. I don't have it anymore, but it's really cool. Nope, don't own any Visvim stuff. Too expensive for me to justify buying for clothes, personally. When I was in Los Angeles last year, and I was hanging out with Gabe, we went to the Visvim store right by his house, and we were looking at stuff. He's like, dude, you should get this, get that. I'm like, I'm okay. I'll spend that money on gear. At least too, then I know like where the money is. But maybe one day, if the YouTube channel takes off, maybe I'll start rocking some Visvim. Shout out my Instagram page. Yeah, I changed my Instagram handle to Justin Jeske Guitar. It was Justin Guitarist for the longest time, and I had some people slightly confusing me with Justin Guitar. Sure, you guys all know him. And we both have the same name. We both play the guitar, but that's kind of where some of the similarities end, at least. And I just didn't want people confusing me with him. So I changed it to reflect my own name. And to it was kind of pointless to not have it be my own name when I changed my branding on my YouTube channel to be my own name anyway. So yeah, that's it. If you guys don't follow me, that's the easiest way to communicate with me. Although I've been slacking on my DMs a lot lately. They've been building up. 21 years old. Nah, I'm just kidding. 28, 29 here kind of soon. Getting close to 30. Oh my God. Yeah, 28. You're close. A couple months away. Chris, just want to thank you that you make. Oh, sorry, I got it really tiny on my screen, so I have to kind of like lean in to see it. Hey, just want to say thank you that you make all these interesting and detailed mirror videos. You're a legend, man. Keep it up. Oh, hey, thanks. You know, I do it for you guys because it's fun, and I hope to help you guys out. A lot of time I get DM from someone saying, hey, like, I watched your video or from whatever you recommended, and I've never been happier with my tone. Like, I'm loving it. That's just, that's why I do it. It just makes me, it feels like I'm actually like doing something and helping people out. So yeah, that's why I do it. And yeah, I'm glad you guys appreciate them. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I do it for you guys. That's why I do all this stuff. Any experience with the Cornish fuzz from Crossroads cover? Yes, Nathan, I owned an NG2 for a while. Really cool pedal. If you actually listen to, do you guys remember when when John Mayer covered Justin Timberlake's I Think She Knows interlude from the song Love Stoned? That was the Cornish TES as well, that's kind of like a cult following performance kind of thing, whatever you want to say. You guys know what I'm trying to say. That's one of those performances a lot of people like remember, and they're like, oh my God, if you're a hardcore Mayer fan, you kind of like go back to that one sometimes. That's what that pedal was. And that's kind of initially what we thought, I guess I just feel like it might have been used with, actually, because that Cornish fuzz does a really good job of kind of doing that thing. It's a little bit spitty for it at times, but it's very much in the vein of that kind of sound for, I guess I just feel like. Yeah, I owned one for a while. I sold it to fund some other stuff because when I spend a lot of money on the gear and stuff like that, I kind of like dial it back, and I'm like, all right, I spent X amount of money right now on gear. I don't want to spend any more, but there's something else I really want. So something has to go. And especially if I don't use it, the NG2 I just wasn't using at all. So I sold it, but I probably will get another one because it'd be nice to just kind of have everything, or like at least mostly everything. Yes, so that is an old school Electro-Harmonix micro synthesizer, the big kind of silver box version. He used that for the outro solo of Belief, the second solo for Belief, and then for I Don't Need No Doctor as well. There's a part where he goes, he does like a breakdown essentially, and you can hear that crazy octave sound essentially, and that's what he used for that as well, was Electro-Harmonix micro synthesizer. I will plead you all to not buy the original, or like the reissue, version of that pedal. I owned it, I still own it because it's broken and I just am too lazy to fix it, but that pedal does not nail that sound. It was probably the most disappointing pedal I've ever played. Disclaimer, in my opinion, in my experience, but the reissue version of Electro-Harmonix micro synthesizer does not do that sound. It's not the same thing. So yeah, you don't want that pedal. The old school big box version is what he used though. And they're kind of getting expensive. I see Mark covered Visvim as well. Yeah, Mark, you're right. John, when he buys Visvim, as far as I know, he just buys like, or just directly gets it at this point. Just like 10 of everything, pretty much. But yeah, if there's any last minute questions or things, I can touch on them for you guys. But other than that, it's been a really fun night, just kind of hanging out and chatting. It's been too long since I've talked with you guys, and I've really enjoyed doing this. So I'll probably start doing them semi-frequently now. I know I said that last time, but this time I actually mean it. Yeah, it's been a blast. But yeah, if there's any last questions, anything like that, let me know, and then I'll answer them. Yeah, you guys are welcome. Thank you for tuning in and spending a bit of your Friday night with me. It was fun. Yeah, I've just been kind of chilling. Played a little bit of COD and Apex today, and then hit the gym, and that was about it. I'm just kind of doing a live stream, and then I'll probably play some more Modern Warfare tonight and call it a night. I'm chilling. Hey, Kevin, any recommendations as to how John gets the Garcia pop? Oh, man. Dead & Company isn't really my thing, to be honest. I'm not a huge Grateful Dead fan. That might be another sacrilegious thing I've said tonight. I'm not the expert on that. Gabe Bergman, if you know him, he is kind of the expert on all things Jerry Garcia and Dead & Company when it comes to John. I talked to him a bit more on exactly those tones because I don't pay that much attention to exactly what John is using during those performances and when. Essentially, like I pay attention to what he's using, but I don't pay attention to how or when. So yeah, I can't really help you out with that stuff, to be honest. Yeah, I wish I could, but it's not my thing. And that's why I only talk about John Frusciante and Mayer on the channel, because I've had people ask me, oh, can you talk about X guitar player or X band's gear? And it's like, I talk about John and John because they're my two favorites, and I am passionate about their gear and their sound, and I've spent a lot of time researching and trying to understand their sound and their gear. And so I've kind of more naturally developed the knowledge to be able to help people. And if I started talking about someone else, for example, right now, it would almost be inauthentic because I'm just doing it to discuss the channel. And then if I got something wrong, the last thing I want to do is someone to buy like a pedal or something because I said it does X, Y, or Z, and then it ended up not being that. And that's something I try and be really careful on doing too. So yeah, that's why I'd only talk about those two guys on the channel, because I have the knowledge, because I just genuinely care about that stuff. So if I ever do touch on anything else on the channel, yeah, that'll be wise, because it's what I want to do, and it's kind of something I think you guys can benefit from, rather than just talking about X guitarist for the sake of doing it, to be honest. It's more important for an intermediate guitar player, theory or just learning chords? I mean, kind of both. Like theory will get you so far, I guess, and then, you know, knowing your I know what Gabe always says, know your triads, know your triads. Yeah, my theory's terrible, to be honest. Yeah, I'm working on it though. Like I said, taking lessons a lot more seriously now. Yeah, my theory's terrible, but I gotta get better at that. And that's something I'm always practicing, trying to do. Carol, I said his microsynth for belief. Go to John Mayer Gear on Instagram. Look at one of the Continuum posts he's done. That'll have a shot of how the microsynth was set. Too many sliders to say exactly how it was set. But yeah, just go to there and you'll find it. I don't think I've broken down the Continuum or where the light rigs on my channel. I think I have it on there. But yeah, I'll wait a couple more minutes for any last questions or anything like that. My tea's gotten cold now. Too busy talking to drink it. But yeah, like I said, keep an eye out on my Instagram tomorrow. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to see Ariel Posen tomorrow night, and I'm so stoked for that. And yeah, it's just something really cool. It's nothing like, I wouldn't say it's like too, like, okay, Ariel's not going to be a guest on the channel, if that's what you're thinking I'm saying. He's not going to be a guest on the channel or anything like that necessarily, but I just got something really cool happening with that show, kind of. So stay tuned to my Instagram page. I'll probably make a video on it on the channel because I think it's just going to be really cool. I don't know. I don't want to say too much without giving it away, but yeah, it'll be really cool. So stay tuned to all that stuff for that. It'll be chill. Yeah, Chris, COD is calling. Yeah, I know. I just unlocked the Lynchman sub. Is that what it is? It's like the MP5. I spent some time away from Call of Duty. It's nice to be back. The original Modern Warfare 2, that like year with Halo 3 and Modern Warfare 2 was the best. I remember being in junior high, and my buddies and I just get home from school and just be either Modern Warfare 2 or Halo 3 till like midnight. It was fantastic. Yeah, nice to kind of get back into that a little bit again. With my concussion, it was really hard to game. I was out for like 6 months. I could only do a little bit at a time, but now that I'm better, COD's come out. It's like, all right, let's do it. Well, it's really crappy out in Canada. It was already like minus 30 here in Canada this past week. We have probably like 2.5, 3 feet of snow right now. I was just golfing like a couple weeks ago too. It just like a light switch. Now it's terrible out, so I'm not doing any of that stuff outside either. So we'll be yeah, I'll be just chilling inside, making some more YouTube videos, live stream maybe a bit more because I'm not leaving my house. Thoughts on a world tour? Yeah, he mentioned when he was doing or talking about recording that he knows he needs to get out and see the rest of the world. I'm sure he'll do it soon. I forget exactly where he tours when he goes to Europe, but he'll be in Europe probably on the back of the next album. So I think we'll get Dead & Company's tour, we'll get a new album, and then we'll get a big world tour. He'll do North America again, which is really just Toronto and, you know, the States. That's what one thing. Oh, I could talk about that for an hour. How, you know, bands say we're doing a world tour, but we're only doing Toronto. It's like, hey, there's more to Canada than Toronto, guys. But yeah, he'll do one eventually. But yeah, I think just with COVID and everything too, still. So, geez, I might get demonetized. Well, I'm not really monetizing a live stream, but can't say that word without having YouTube come in and be like, oh, you can't say that word. Yeah, he'll do it eventually, just logistic wise. They had a hard enough time touring this year in America. So then you're going overseas. It's just a bit of a pain going to different countries and stuff like that too. But soon, I'm sure. I haven't tried Halo. I have it downloaded, but I never tried it. And I was a really big Halo guy. That was my jam. But then Infinite kind of, everything I read on it was super disappointing. And then I just was kind of like, you know, I don't have much time to play video games. So I was like, I'm not going to put it into a game that I didn't feel as like super finished. But if the new update is really good, I should check it out because I always loved Halo a lot. How long do you think until we see John playing the Fender Stratocaster on stage? I think he used 6-1 hardtail to record Wild Blue. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what he used to the Olympic white one to record Wild Blue. I mean, we saw him use the Corey Wong one, which was really weird. Not weird, but just was like, okay, he's using Corey Wong's signature Strat for I Still Feel Like Your Man, that one performance kind of near the beginning of the tour, and then that was it. I don't know. I think John is all in on the Silver Sky right now. And I think that, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, we know Fenders exist. It was built off of Fender, so don't be afraid to play a Fender. But I think he's just all in on it right now, and he really believes in the product, and he just is really loving playing it. And, you know, it's based off the 64 Strat, so for him, he's kind of getting to play the 64 Strat every night, more or less. The same kind of mojo, like at least in the Silver Sky's neck and everything. Yeah, I don't know. We might never see him play a Fender again, to be honest. I don't know. Yeah, never know. The black one's been retired, I'm sure. I don't think we'll ever see the black one really again. So I think that, yeah, I think that's kind of done. New God of War. Yeah, I heard that's really good. Never dove into it because that would be that'd suck my life away. When the new Elder Scrolls comes out, Dawn Hammer, whatever, I don't know. I'll be like 50 by the time the next Elder Scrolls comes out, but that'll be the next kind of game like that I sink a ton of time into. Core gameplay of Halo Infinite is good, and the microtransactions are booty and needs more maps. New update helps. I'll check out Halo Infinite then. Yeah. Okay, I've been running my main recording camera as kind of like my webcam, and it's yelling at me that it's going to be dying here in a second. So onto this last one. I think that might be the last one. John been using the SD1. Yeah, John's been using the SD1, kind of like a boost. Think of it like a light overdrive, essentially, like Black Summer. The SD1's all over that song. And I think it's really cool because before with John, it used to be micro amp, providing a bit of crunch, a little bit of boost, then full on distortion was like your sounds. But now you have layering where you can do like micro amp SD1, for example, or just SD1 for a bit of, standard amp sound, overdrive, then full on distortion. You can stack the SD1 with other stuff to boost it even more as well. So I think that's just really cool. And I actually was a really big fan of that change, or addition, I guess I should say, to John's sound. Adding the SD1 was really sweet. But yeah, just as like a light overdrive, well, not light, but overdrive to kind of provide a middle of the ground tone before throwing on the DS2 and just that wall of sound. Backstory is that John's guy left Fender and he went to PRS. Partially true. It's kind of a big story. And I don't like getting into like the political kind of realm of things with brands and stuff like that. Because number one, I just don't want to piss any brand off that I might eventually get to partner with or anything like that. But I know, like, essentially John, like there was someone who John had a very close relationship with at Fender and he did leave. And I think from that point on, his relationship at Fender was never the same. That's at least kind of the story that's been generally accepted. That kind of went around. I think he's talked about it too, actually, on the Dean Del Rey podcast, if I'm not mistaken. I think John's touched on it too a bit, but that's essentially, yeah, what happened. His relationship at Fender, his kind of main guy at Fender left, and then, yeah, and Fender was stupid. Fender, you guys were stupid in letting John go. I mean, now look at PRS with John. Like, you guys could have had him stick with you guys, build that next kind of guitar he wanted to build that became the Silver Sky, and you guys turned him down. And just kind of, the fact that John could easily get on the phone with Paul and, collaborate with the guy who owns the freaking company, good for Paul for, building that relationship with artists like John. I think it speaks volumes to PRS and everything they've done, and Fender where they were being a bit more corporate-y and, not necessarily giving Mayer the time of day that I think he deserved as kind of one of the number one, guitar gods out there right now, who's inspiring kind of new generations of people. He's kind of the last guy holding the torch. So I just think it was a huge miss on Fender to let him go. But I'm happy things worked out the way they did, because we got the Silver Sky, we got his new relationship with PRS. It's been a really cool ride. So yeah, I think it worked out for the best. Okay. Hour and a half, half an hour over what I kind of originally mentally committed to doing, but this was a lot of fun, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. This live stream will be up on my YouTube channel probably tomorrow. I'll just throw it up, or I guess maybe even after this is done. I forget how live streams work. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in and just hanging out. It was a lot of fun, and I really appreciate all you guys spending a bit of the evening with me. Take care, and yeah, we'll chat with you guys all soon. Again, just stay tuned to my Instagram and stuff tomorrow. That's all I'll say. It'll be pretty cool. And I'll give you guys an update on how Ariel Posen was as well on the show. It'll be a lot of fun. Okay. Have a good night, everyone. I'll talk with you very soon. And yeah, I'll do this again very soon. This was fun. See you guys.